organic, unpredictable, unknown, lovely, beautiful, a sense of fulfillment. This is part of the pleasures of life and not the chores of life.
Coming up on Daily Iowan TV, Deadline is up. We'll look at how the sequestration will affect both Eastern Iowa and the nation.
And two wrongs don't make a copy right. See how a new technology will help punish those who are downloading content illegally.
Boilers, Hawks, highlights. That's all coming up later in sports.
That's all coming your way next.
Daily Iowan TV starts now.
I'm Tom Brokaw. For more than 100 years now, the University of Iowa community has been waking up to the Daily Iowan. Today, it's the largest newsroom in eastern Iowa. And now you can see the news every night on Daily Iowan TV and get it anytime worldwide at dailyiowan.com.
Thanks for tuning in to Thursday's edition of Daily Iowan TV. And a special welcome to our first-time viewers from across the state of Iowa. I'm Rebecca Swibes.
And I'm Allie Wright. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley is questioning why the President and Congress are just now reacting to the massive spending cuts going into effect Friday. The sequestration will cut $85 billion in a plan to cut $1.2 trillion in spending in the next 10 years. Grassley said, quote, "Listen, there's not a member of Congress that feels that the sequester is the right thing to do," end quote. Grassley went on to ask why Congress waited until the last minute to look for alternatives. Locally, the Iowa Farm Bureau will see a 5% cut in their overall budget. Nationally, the cuts range from the military and education to the national parks. And potentially half of the federal workers could be forced to take a furlough or unpaid temporary time off.
A recent controversy continues with the Johnson County Board of Supervisors in regards to pending funding cuts to a county paratransit program, SEATS. Officials from the cities of Iowa City, Coralville, and North Liberty say county support is necessary for the continuation of the program. Supervisors Janelle Reddig and Rod Sullivan accused 3 Johnson County cities of writing a letter that misconstrued facts about the program and how funding is allocated. Coralville Mayor Jim Fawcett says with an approximate $80 million in the county's budget, future county funding should still be available.
And many people around the world use the internet to download their favorite forms of media. And internet providers have noticed that most of this downloading has violated federal copyright laws. Daily Iowan TV's Stefan Duran tells us what new tactics internet providers are using to crack down on illegal file sharing.
Simplicity is something we all look for when getting our daily fix of entertainment. The consumption of media from sources like television and radio has quickly transformed to the internet. An increased amount of internet consumption has led to more incidents of copyright infringement. In response to this concern, 5 major internet companies have implemented a new copyright alert system which will warn some unknowing customers about their illegal internet actions.
What's going to happen? Well, a lot of people are going to get, booted off their accounts.
The alert system will first send out 2 or 3 initial warnings to customers showing them that they have shared files illegally. After this, the internet providers will force customers to acknowledge the warnings if illegal activity continues. Termination from the internet provider will be the final and largest penalty put on the customers. Kimbrough feels like this new alert system will have limited effects on the illegal sharing.
You know, just like lawsuits didn't actually put an end to downloading of music, I don't think this is going to put an end to downloading either.
Promoting legal ways of obtaining media via music stores, libraries, and legal internet media sites is the main goal for the music and film industry's new copyright system.
Hollywood and the record companies are actually providing consumers with more options to access content legally.
The new copyright alert system will make illegal downloading of music and other forms of media harder for customers. And depending on the system's effect, many musical lovers will have to come back to stores like these to fulfill their musical needs. Stefan Duran, Daily Iowan TV.
Some of the national providers have implemented the new alert system already, and others are expected to start in a few weeks.
The Johnson County Republicans marked the 100th anniversary of the Women's Suffrage Parade of 1913 on Thursday. While the National March takes place on March 3rd, the Johnson County branch of Republicans' celebration coincided with the arrival of Sharon Day, co-chair of the Republican National Committee in Iowa City. Aside from the celebration, the Republicans' focus on women could have a political motive as well. In the most recent political election, President Obama won the partisan women's vote by 12 points. That's the largest gender voting gap for a candidate since a Gallup poll began tracking such data in 1952.
The University of Iowa Mechanical and Industrial Engineering Department is helping advance a technology which could print out human organs. Using a relatively new device called a 3D printer, future organ donations could come from this printer instead of other humans. The UI team is still in the research phase of the project, but say they believe both human tissue and full organs could come out of this machine in the future. If widely applied, this technology could also cut down on wait times for problems such as transplants and skin grafts. And still to come on Daily Iowan TV, nursing home abuse. Hear about an Iowa bill legislating against a violence problem in elderly care.
And in sports, find out how long head coach Fran McCaffrey expects his starting point guard to be sidelined. But first, for a look at whether or not you'll still need your stocking cap this weekend, let's go over to Nick Safransky for your Iowa City weekend forecast. Nick?
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, we've had some colder temperatures over the last couple days, and it looks like more of the same tomorrow, minus the snow. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy all day with a morning high of 23. Into the afternoon, temperatures will get up to 34 degrees, and by tomorrow night, we'll see a temperature drop down to 27. All right, let's take a look at the extended forecast. Saturday will be partly cloudy as the high will sit around freezing. Sunday we'll see a high of 37 and a low of 25. Now Monday there will be a high of 36 degrees, but definitely looks like there's a strong chance of snow. Tuesday looks like we could get some more snow as temperatures jump up to 41 degrees. And on Wednesday, things clear up with a high of 36 and a low of 21. That's all I got. Back to you guys.
An official of the Iowa Department of Human Services said they're neutral on a statewide budget that would require families of nursing home residents to be informed if a sex offender was living in their relative's facility. The issue stems from sex offenders often being considered not dangerous in old age and eventually ending up in elderly care homes. Some have proposed creating separate care facilities for those who are registered sex offenders or suffer from a mental illness. For more on this story, pick up a copy of Friday's edition of the Daily Iowan.
And let's zoom out from the Hawkeye State for a look around the world. Pope Benedict XVI said in his final address today he is now, quote, simply a pilgrim, end quote, as he became the first Vatican leader to step down from his position in 600 years. The 85-year-old left by helicopter after addressing an emotional crowd in Vatican City on Thursday, his final day on the job. It will likely be a couple of weeks before the Emeritus Benedict's successor, the 266th Pope, is chosen.
And an unlikely alliance appears to have formed in North Korea. Former NBA star Dennis Rodman is in the middle of a diplomacy trip to the nation, mostly to meet with young dictator Kim Jong-un. Apparently, Un was a huge Chicago Bulls fan growing up and invited the Hall of Famer to the country. The pair took in an exhibition game together featuring North Koreans and some Harlem Globetrotters. Apparently, Rodman told Un he had a, quote, friend for life, according to a spokesman for Vice magazine, whose representatives accompanied Rodman on the visit. The United States hasn't had an official diplomatic relations with North Korea since 1953, the end of the Korean War. You know, in my day, I was a big Michael Jordan fan back when the Bulls were really good.
I like MJ, but I have to say Scottie Pippen. But nowadays, I'm more of, a D-Rose kind of.
Yeah, he seems to be pretty popular. But, I got to stay loyal to my Hawkeye basketball team. And Alyssa's going to tell us a little bit how they did against the game at Purdue Wednesday night.
Yeah, Allie, I would have to agree with you on that one. Hey guys, welcome back to the Daily Iowan TV Sports Studio. A whole lot to get you in on the program today. But let's go straight to Daily Iowan TV basketball reporter Eric Dawn, who was courtside for the Hawks' win in Carver Hawkeye Arena last night. Eric?
The Iowa Hawkeyes took the floor inside Carver Hawkeye Arena without starting point guard Mike Gesell, who is out nursing a foot injury. Replacing him in the starting lineup was Josh Oglesby. Iowa needed big efforts from Aaron White and Devin Marble to help offset the loss of Gesell, and the Hawkeyes got just that as Marble hit the beautiful runner in the lane here. The Iowa defense was pesky throughout, causing Purdue problems all night as Anthony Clements comes away with the steal and send it in Jerome as he throws it down with authority. Purdue would have an answer at the other end as A.J. Hammonds looked impressive throughout, knocking down the jumper there, brings Purdue back into it. At the other end, though, Iowa on the inbound, Josh Oglesby gets into a little bit of trouble, but Devin Marble would bail him out with the get-out-of-jail 3 card, extending the Hawkeye lead. Fran McCaffrey said he really needed Devin Marble to run the offense, and he did just that, finding Aaron White open for 3, and the Hawkeyes win into the half up 7. We'll pick things up in the second half as Ronnie Johnson buries the jumper here, cutting into the Iowa lead. But the Hawkeyes would have an answer as Anthony Clements hits the tough runner, taking contact, extends that Hawkeye lead. A.J. Hammonds was going beast mode throughout, but when he wasn't on the floor, he was on the bench with foul trouble, and Iowa took advantage as Mel Sambasavi backs down his man and hits the easy layup. But the story of the night was Devin Marble. He ran the Iowa offense to perfection, burying the jumper there, but it wasn't just his shot that was working. He was driving hard to the lane with a nice left-handed finish over some traffic, and he had a great game, game-high 18 points. Iowa's pressure D finally got the Boilermakers to crack as Anthony Clements comes away with the loose ball, finds Aaron White, who finishes in transition, and the Hawkeyes would hold on to this one, winning 58-48. Devin Marble poured in 18 points to go with 3 rebounds and 4 assists, and Aaron White scored 18 points of his own to go along with 9 rebounds. Up next for the Hawkeyes is a Saturday date in Bloomington with the #1 ranked Indiana Hoosiers.
Certainly not the prettiest win for Fran McCaffrey's bunch this year. The black and gold went nearly 14 minutes without a basket during parts of the first and second half. And while the Hawks head man may have been frustrated at times, he was ultimately satisfied with the end result, a win.
You know, we out-rebounded them. I mean, that's one area that they usually out-rebound people. I mean, that's Matt's staple. You know, they usually win the rebounding battle and they win the turnover battle. Okay, we won them both. So I think you could say that's why we won.
And a quick note before we move along, freshman Mike Gesell, who missed last night's game with an injury to his foot, is expected sidelined for a couple of weeks. McCaffrey told media members post-game the injury is not a stress fracture, and he expects his starting point guard to be back by the start of the Big Ten tournament in the Windy City. And the men's basketball team, one of many Hawkeye sports in action over the weekend. To fill you in on all of the black and gold action taking place over our programming break, we toss it over to our very own Alicia Denias standing by in the Daily Iowan TV newsroom. Alicia?
Yeah, as always, a lot going on for our Hawkeyes. Starting Friday, March 1st, the men's tennis team will be at Illinois at 6 p.m., and then they have Dartmouth Saturday at 10 a.m. here in Iowa City. Then Saturday, the men's gymnastics team will be facing off against the Gophers at 7 p.m. in Minnesota. Then the men's basketball team has a huge rematch versus Indiana. They're going to be at Assembly Hall at 6:30 p.m., but if you can't make the drive, check it out on the Big Ten Network. And then a lot of weekend events. Baseball will be in Kansas with the Jayhawk Classic. They have 4 games, and then the softball team has 4 games of their own for the Easton Invitational in California. Men and women's track teams has the last chance meet in Ames and then also Notre Dame. And last but not least, the men's swimming and diving team is finishing off their Big Ten championships in Indiana. That's all I have for the black and gold calendar. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Alicia. Well, that's all for us here in the Daily Iowan TV Sports Studio. A jam-packed show for you coming this Sunday with our courtside crew back on set to bring you one of the most extensive Hawkeye hoop shows in the state. Ailey and Rebecca, back to you guys.
Thanks, Alyssa. And with Daily Iowan TV, you get an exclusive look into Friday's pages of the Daily Iowan. Read about efforts from the UI student government to continue the upcoming tuition freeze.
Also read about the future of the UI Hygienics Lab. That's your latest edition of Daily Iowan TV. Check us out anytime online at dailyiowan.com.
Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.